First of all, thank you everyone who has come. These numbers are looking amazing. Thank you so much for everyone who is here with us tonight. People who are continuing to support what we're trying to do with Wedzera, which really is keeping things like this going, keeping the conversation going, because as we all know, Black lives still matter now, even though it's not circulating in the news. Our lives still matter. We're still going through struggles. And so for people to still be showing this kind of support and to be wanting to engage is just so amazing. And my team and I are very thankful for that. For me, this is a panel that I've been very, very, very excited to do, because obviously a lot of us know that it was watching the killing of George Floyd last year that really sparked something in all of us to want to get involved in Black Lives Matter again. And watching the life drained out of him for 8 minutes and 46 seconds is something that resonated so powerfully with all of us. And for a lot of us who watched that moment, it was a reminder of, you know, the systemic issues and the wider issues to do with race. But unfortunately for the 6 men sat on our panel tonight, it was a reminder of what can happen to them at any time, any day, because they are Black men. And so for us to be able to have a conversation like this with such an array of Black men is really something that I'm very proud of, and something that I'm really glad that we are able to do tonight. So I am very, very excited to hear this conversation. Got my glass of wine. I don't have to participate, so I can just kick back and relax and listen to the conversation. So thank you very much for joining in. This should be an amazing conversation, and I will hand over to our incredible events organizer, Tendai.
Thank you. And yeah, thank you so much, panelists, for coming forward. I've been looking forward to this panel, obviously, well, for obvious reasons. So yeah, I'm very excited. Just a quick note to our attendees to interact with the panel at the very bottom of your Zoom window. You should see Q&A and chat. You can use either one. So if you have questions, you can ask them anonymously using the Q&A function, or you can just chuck them in the chat during the, and we'll try bring your conversation, your questions into the conversation. And yeah, I'm gonna hand off to a bit Tyrone and Michael to get us kicking.
Okay,
So,
go on, Ty. Sorry.
No, go first, Michael.
I jumped over you. Go on.
I didn't even know what I was gonna say, to be honest with you, but I guess I'll start like that. Thanks guys for coming. We're here to discuss important matters. We're here to discuss important matters, as well as to have fun as well. It's an open discussion. I hope everyone does enjoy. There will be some serious topics as well, but all of us come from different backgrounds and have different aspects and different views. So if you do feel like you have questions, please do put in the chat, either anonymously or not anonymously. Michael, do you want to say anything before we really get started?
Well, really just echoing a lot of what you've just said there, Tyrone. All I was going to say in addition was that what you just said then about whilst we're trying to sort of sometimes have a bit of fun with the conversation, we will be, I dare say, hitting some serious topics, some which may affect people deeply that they want to discuss about, anecdotally, and please feel free to join in, chip in, chime in. Well, introductions, I guess. My name is Michael Gale, and this is what I call my second life in terms of career and whatever, working in education, working in schools. I've taught English, I've mentored, I do write and perform poetry. Well, I haven't performed any for over a year for obvious reasons. And love football. That aside, it's been a great honor to have been invited to be part of this panel and co-hosting with some great guys up in here. And we're starting off with you, Tyrone, if you want to introduce yourself and everybody else in turn.
Sure. I'm Tyrone. I'm 25. I'm 25 now. Half Jamaican, half Trinidad and Tobago. I predominantly do. I'm a creative, so I do things like poetry as well. I try to inspire people. At least I try to bring a smile to people's face if I can. That's really about me. I'll put my socials down if you you want to connect, I'm always looking to inspire or to connect with people. So please feel free to do so. But that's a gist of me. Daniel, do you want to introduce who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name's Daniel Gale. I'm 24 years old, currently at the University of Liverpool studying my master's in architecture. So yeah, grew up in Birmingham. So yeah, that's a bit about me. Do a bit of YouTube, trying to build it up slowly but surely, just trying to show the Black experience within architecture, trying to aspire and just tips and tricks for young people. So yeah, that's me. Yeah. You don't want to go next?
All right, I'll go next. Hi everyone. It's great to see so many people joining us today. My name is Sean Adams. I'm an architectural designer, writer, and lecturer. So at the moment, I work in an architecture office, and I teach BA architecture. So I have students that are in second and third years at Central St. Martin's University. And I'm a co-founder of a social enterprise called Power Out of Restriction. So what you can see in the background is actually the acronym for the collective, which is called POUR.
Nice stuff, nice stuff. Hi everyone, my name's Koda Mchangi. I'm an architectural assistant living in London at the moment. Originally from Nottingham, but originally from Zimbabwe, proudly. So yeah, and on top of that, I'm also an artist as well, which I do take hand in hand, with my career as well. So I put a lot of commitment into that, and it seems to be doing okay at the moment. So I'll plug my socials shamelessly at some point, I'm sure. But yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to this, and thank you for asking me to be a panelist.
Hello, everyone. Obviously, my name's Anthony, but as you can see, it's Grandad AO. Like, that's got a whole nother story itself that I'll explain like another time. But yeah, so essentially, I'm a content creator. I create content on YouTube. I have a podcast and a blog. It's all pretty much to do with self-development. So I've covered things like mental health, meditation, motivation, mindsets, mindfulness, just all of that stuff, literally just to empower people through the internet, really, just because I get that everyone needs it, but not everybody can get access to a mentor and stuff like that. So that's literally me. So yeah. And if you want to find me on anything, it's literally Grandad AO. So yeah, that's me.
So yeah, that's.
So
you go there. You're quick. You're quicker than me. You're quicker than me. You're quicker than me, Michael.
well, no, I was just going to say. So to kick off, we're going to start with a look at Black identity, which is something that, again, when we were speaking amongst ourselves, when the panelists were talking the other week about things like Black History Month, etc. When we're talking about Black identity and what it meant, is there isn't no, and this is just my opinion, there is no Black man in the sense that my heritage is Jamaican. I can trace my family back many years, and Tendai and I did an assembly together, and we're two, to the untrained eye, just two Black men standing there. But as I said, our heritages and our backgrounds are very different. His from Zimbabwe, mine Jamaica. And so the first question I think I'm throwing out to the panel is what do you understand by the term Black identity, and what challenges you've faced as a Black man? And thirdly, third part to what is success to a Black man? But before we do that, I just wanted to ask Tyrone if you were still going to kick off with that little verse.
Oh yeah. So like I said, I do poetry as well. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna perform a poem. So please, if you click, I won't be able to hear you. And yeah, without further ado, the poem is called "What Is Your Name?" And here it goes. What is your name? When someone says your name, what's the first thing they think about? And is it better than the last? You see, your name is associated with your future and your past. But over time, people run your name through their mental database like mine is working over time. building both positive and negative perceptions of you. I mean, you hope it's true, but it's false. It's the same type of hope that a person will go to McDonald's asking for a milkshake, knowing that the ice cream machine is broken. It's all nonsense. What people think of you doesn't make your name. So what is your name then? For me, it means what can you make of yourself? If you don't believe in something, then why do it? Money? Also, what you need money to survive. Most of you will say, no, money isn't my drive. And that's fine. But for other people, it's the little bit of money they can get to keep their family alive. You see, everybody's situation is different. We all are liquids trying to fit into a shape that makes us who we are, which really means there's no wrong shape to be. It's all depending on who you are and who you're trying to be. Everybody's story is different, just like the name, meaning your name is what you make it. And if you don't tell your story, guys, then they'll never know your name. So let me ask you again, what is your name? That's it. No click, no click. That's it. Thank you guys for letting me perform my poem. The poem was called What Is Your Name? And I think that's a good way to segue into what Michael was saying in terms of the Black identity. So guys, the first question was, what challenges really have you faced as a Black man? What would you say the challenges that you guys have faced?
For me, I think especially to date, coming into my career path and it being predominantly a white male landscape, it has been kind of hard to try and find people that have been well established in this sector and trying to not follow their path, but it's like you pave the way. So looking for someone that has come from a similar background to me and just trying to find a way of how they've managed to overcome challenges, that's a big thing, and it's something that is gonna keep on providing challenges for me as I progress in my career. So yeah, so that's what I would say.
Do you think seeing that's kind of somebody who looks like you and who's done the same field as you has kind of inspired you more to continue to try and be that face example, or has it deterred you, do you think? What would you say?
100%, like seeing meeting like Kuda, Kudzai, Sean in the field, it's been very inspirational for me. Even at school, I couldn't tell you ways in which you could pursue architecture. It was kind of off my own back, but seeing and just having a dialect and a dialogue with these like-minded individuals, it does help so much. It pushes you to do more. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it does definitely inspire me to see like-minded individuals in this sector.
I know we've got other architects in the chat as well, and on the panel. So do you guys feel the same? What would you say? Do you feel the same going into that type of role where, or even any field that anybody may do, or any time they have experienced that type of feeling where you're trying to be something, but there's, well, essentially, I'll use this example, the Caucasian people are have the power or the keys to kind of hand you the job that you're looking for, your dream job, or something like that. Have you guys experienced that or something of that nature?
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with what Daniel was saying. You know, I felt the exact same way, that, you know, I only went into architecture because of my, you know, innate drive to do well. You know, if I didn't have that, it would have been very difficult, because you don't see like many Black people up there, you know. So you think it's, you know, you can't achieve that, you know, you can't really attain that level. And I think that's what's difficult, and that's the challenge that I had growing up. But I guess another challenge that I personally had was that, you know, because like I have quite traditional parents, you know, they you know, they're into like the business and the corporate world, and, you know, that's what they do. But obviously me, I've always wanted to go into like the creative and artistic side of things. So I guess kind of going against that grain in terms of, I don't really want to go into like what you guys have been doing for years now. You know, I want to kind of pave my own way. So I guess that's the challenge that I had to kind of overcome, you know, within the family, you know, not even before you even get to like, you know, the whitewash, you know, across architecture. So yeah.
Yeah, I think if I had to add to that, I think, and I think this is something not exclusive to architecture, but it'll be the same for everyone. Like kind of growing up, there wasn't many people that you could look up to in different professions. I know for me, it was in school, it was either the footballers or the musicians. I didn't have anyone in any other profession that could help me. I didn't know any doctors, any lawyers. I didn't even think my school had a careers day. So kind of going to university was a massive step for me, and also like not only me, my family, my friends, because we hadn't seen many people go to university, or we hadn't seen what people do after university. I think I only really knew about university when I got to sixth form. I thought that's the natural progression of after sixth form. But for the most part, I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't really have many kind of influences to guide me. And I think from what Daniel said as well, like there wasn't that many Black people that were dared to kind of guide me, but also there wasn't that many Black people from similar environments as well. Because I think there's one thing to have someone that looks like you, but also someone that has quite humble beginnings, such as myself. So to see someone that like really comes from a really kind of humble beginning, and their parents have to work incredibly hard, and seeing like a Black male doing really well, that is super inspiring for me. So I think most of the people that inspire me aren't even Black architects.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think that's essential. Like what you said there. Like, so you're saying that you've been inspired by people maybe in that creative sector who either play football or some sort of sport, who rap, or someone in that creative field, rather than in a more business oriented field. So I guess segueing a little bit about stereotypes and profiling. What, like, I feel like if you're like me personally, I feel like if you're kind of a Black male, you're kind of pushed, or you kind of resort to being a creative, or rather than trying to go into the corporate world a lot. Do you guys feel that? Do you guys feel like you're stereotyped or to go into that field?
I feel like it's actually pretty often like the opposite. I feel like obviously, so we know like the stereotype of corporate job and that is that, you know, you're getting an income, you're now providing, you're making loads of money, and all of that stuff. Whereas once again, the stereotypes of being a sort of creative is like, you might sort of struggle for money, you might not have money, you don't know, you're sort of freelancing a lot more, and things are a lot less secure stereotypically. And therefore, like as a man who needs to be a provider, it makes sense for you to, you know, go earn money, get a job, have a consistent flow of income so you can provide for your family and provide for the, like, do you know what I mean? And provide for your wife, do you know what I mean? And everything like that. I feel like that's more of the narrative. Obviously, there's definitely the narrative of sort of like going into like music and those sort of passions as well, as much as sports as well. Because I know me, I literally, my head was just screwed on straight. Like, yeah, I'm going to play basketball literally from the age of literally up until the end of sixth form. I was like, yeah, I'm just going to play basketball. I'm going to play basketball. Even when I was filling out my uni application, I was like, yeah, I'm going to play basketball. I'm not really going to need this degree. I'm not going to go to any universities here. But I ended up going uni here anyway. And then it was like, wait, what do I even want to do? Do you know what I mean? Like there was a big gap and a big realization that, okay, that part of like that, well, I was never really interested in music like that. So it's more sports. That sports life isn't a professional outlook for me. So what do I actually want to do? And it took a lot of like soul searching and everything like that. But even within that, I picked accounting and business management. I picked accounting and finance, first of all, to go to uni as my university course, just because it's like, oh yeah, I can make money doing this. Do you know what I mean? And that's sort of the stereotype that you find, like, oh, what's going to make you money? You know, you're a man, you should make money. Now, nobody was pushing me to do these things, but I very much just like, I feel like it was in a way external sort of pressures saying that, oh yeah, you should just pick the thing that makes the most money. I never said, oh, what am I going to find the most fun and stuff like that. I was just thinking, oh, you know, I need to make money, I need to make money, I need to make money. So yeah.
No, I hear you. I definitely hear you about the need to make money, and the not knowing what direction to go into. I think that's definitely some powerful things there that you said there.
So then,
Segueing a tiny bit back. Go on, Tendai, sorry.
Does that need for money mean a successful Black man must be making money? Obviously, everyone needs to make money to live a certain life, but for a long time, all we see are the sports stars that are pushed in front of us, the ones making serious money. And if that's not attainable, but is that part of the image of the successful Black man, do you think?
I think it depends on how you measure success. Because I've been in a situation where I was working in a job where I was earning a bag of money, right? But it was a thing where I wasn't enjoying it. Now, my older two were very young at the time, and you get this dilemma. I have to go and make this money because it's good money, but at the same time, you know, in your job, right, you have those moments when you're not feeling it on any given day, but you get over it. You get up, you go and do whatever. But it got to a stage where it was day after day after day, week after week. I actually was like, no, I don't want to do this, but I need that money. Do you see what I'm saying? So in that terms, you know, I was doing all the things a man should be doing, of putting food on the table, etc., etc. But I felt a piece of my soul getting chipped away every day because I wasn't enjoying it. Do you know what I mean? And it's that thing where, yeah, go and make money, support your wife and kids, all that was all fine and dandy, but then you got to look at what is good for the soul as well. You got to feed your soul, I think, as well. So it's that fine balance between earning enough to do what you need to do, especially if you have a family, versus something that makes you want to get up out of bed. Now, in my job, yeah, there's some good days and bad days, but, you know, touch wood, I always get up and I'm ready, because every day is different. Do you know what I mean? It's like you don't know what's coming next, you know, good or bad, but every day is worth getting up for. And I think that's what we have to look at. Criteria of success is your sometimes an exterior criteria for successes as well. You know, I know people that want their children to go off and do whatever it's almost like projecting their ambitions onto their children, right? So you're going to go and be a doctor, you're going to be, and I remember.
So a question came into the chat saying, where's the pressure to making money come from? What do you guys think?
It could be parental, it could be literally it could be a case of just looking at trying to keep up with the Joneses sometimes. You know, what's that Will Smith quote? Was it spending money you haven't got on things you don't need to impress people you don't know?
Yeah.
I probably misquoted it, but it's that kind of thing, you know. I've got to have a Merc, which I did do, and it blew up on the A40, yeah. So I was like, never again. That's another story. But I'm just saying, so is it outside pressures? Is it societal pressures? You know, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think they're definitely outside pressures. But at the same time, you know, I think it's within the community as well, because, you know, everyone's trying to do well, and you want to see, you want to kind of not show off to your peers, but you want your peers to see that you're doing well as well, you know. So I think that's the pressure in itself. You know, you don't want to, I don't know, just lose track of trying to get there, to get somewhere. So there's always that pressure, and it's kind of being pushed on your back all the time, you know, to keep moving and to keep progressing and all of this. And it is draining, definitely. But yeah, I guess it's something that we just had to live with, really.
I think if I were to add to that and like to try and contextualize it in terms of like the black male experience, I think for most of us, our parents are probably like first or second generation and came over to the UK and have had to work super hard to get what they have. And for us, we're probably like the first generation going to university. So for me, for example, when I was trying to save up to do my master's degree, like I wasn't trying to make money to show off. I had to work like 7 days a week to just save up to get into uni, to just pay for those fees. And I think that's the reality for a lot of people. We don't have parents that can kind of just fund a lot of these things. So we have to work that extra hard to even make the money. And then because of the kind of discrimination, we have to work that even harder to prove that we're worthy of that spot once we finally worked our asses off to get it. So I think in a way there is a lot of showing off, but there is a lot of just working hard to get that money to try and do something and kind of make something a name for yourself, or do something that your parents were kind of unable to do.
There's 2 questions that have just come up from the attendees. One is, do you think that we define ourselves too much by European standards of capitalist success? And is there more pressure on a black male to prove himself compared to their white counterparts? Any thoughts?
So I would say, okay, so the first question, do we think that we define ourselves too much by European standards or capitalistic success? I would think that, yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily European. I would say it's more capitalism in terms of success. That's more the problem, whereby obviously capitalism, I'm not an expert on capitalism, but the way I understand it currently is that it's obviously a system where someone is at the top, and in order for them to be at the top, people have to be at the bottom. But also what it does, it makes the people at the bottom want to be at the top. The people at the top of this capitalistic system are the ones that are going to be making the most money. And therefore, because they're making the most money, they seem happy and all of this stuff, and you're poor and you're not making any money. You're going to sort of define success by the amount of money that this person is making. Do you know what I mean? You're looking up, because really and truly, success literally means setting a goal and achieving it. So if I had a goal to make my bed, and maybe just once a week, I'm successful at making my bed. That's still success. Only when you compare it to other people and someone says, oh no, that's not success, I done this, but really your success is still your success. Do you know what I mean? So I definitely think that we are defining ourselves version of success by like comparing them like to the top of the capitalism system, if that makes sense. And then to the second question, is there more pressure on a black male to prove himself compared to their white counterparts? I would say definitely. As a black male, once again, you have the general pressures of a male, just that any male will have, but then you're also black on top of that as well, whereby it's like you've got sort of more people sort of depending on you in a way. Even if you may be your only child, you sort of understand that, well, you probably know that because of your race, like someone was saying earlier, you know, you have to work harder. That itself is pressure. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're always told you have to be 2 times better. Do you know what I mean? And then, yeah, I'm going to leave it at that.
No, I think they're very good points. And just to add to that, really, it's like when you're working in, you know, a very white male dominated field, you're representing a lot more than just yourself. You know, I'm not just like Kuda in a field. You know, I'm the black person in the field. You know, this is how a black person in architecture is, and all of this. You know, and I think that's something that I hate to say it, but it's always in the back of my mind, man. Like, you know, no matter how much I try to like erase that, but it always just exists. You know, sometimes when I go to like, I don't know, sometimes when I go on like calls or, you know, when I'm go to events when things are normal and I walk into a room and then I'm the only black person and there are all these white people there and they're all looking at me like, oh, okay, now there's a black person here. Like you feel like you have to be against the stereotype that they have in their heads. And the stereotype, I mean, in terms of, oh, this guy might be aggressive, he's not really friendly, all of that. So I make sure like I walk in, I'm smiling, and like there's all those pressures that I think of even before like walking into a room. Like it's crazy. And I think that's a good point that someone mentioned before about like, you know,
do you think it's your responsibility to change people's opinions about that?
No way. No way.
No way. But
What?
it's definitely a pressure there, in my opinion.
Because I think that pressure is probably felt across the board. Like you're always representing the whole race rather than just you. But then is that your responsibility? Like we're all very different black male men here. So yeah, I was just wondering, do you feel you are responsible to change people's minds about that?
Nah, no way. I think it's all on them really, because they need to change their mindset. But unfortunately, that's not how things work at the moment, and it's very difficult to change mindsets of of other people. So that's a challenge in itself. But yeah,
I would say that I've not felt responsible, but I've always made sure I don't give any ammunition towards the other way, to the negative stereotype. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be that thing that they imagined already. Do you know what I mean? You don't become, don't, for a better word, justify that negative image that they may hold from the off. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm not, I'll put it right. See, Michael walks into a room, that's Michael walking into the room, who is a black man. But I'm not the same as Tyrone or Kuda or whatever. We're all black men, but we are different personalities and whatever. And any other black man. So another black man could be going in there and he could be that negative guy, but that's him. He's not us or anybody who's not that. Do you know what I mean? I don't feel the pressure to represent everybody, but I do think that I probably emphasize the fact that whatever negative thoughts you've got in your head, that's not me. Okay, or anybody like me or anyone that I know really.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I always say, like, do you know where the worst place for a black man to live? In a white man's head. That's the worst. There's no sofa, there's no TV. Now, on a serious note, that's the worst place for a black person to live, because that basically says like their preconceived notions about black people is mostly negative. If you can imagine like a white person who's never met a black person before, they well, not all of them, but they have preconceived notions in their head about how black people are, what black people like to do, and things like that. And it's annoying for me personally. It's annoying because I'm really, really, really unapologetically black. Like you'll smell me like with my cocoa bar on. You'll know that I'm black. Like if I walk into a room, for sure. But going a little bit back, someone said something about going into a room, walk into a room with full of white people. Do you feel like you have to code switch?
Yeah, I mean, I code switch quite a lot. I think it's one of those things, like I hate that I do it, but I definitely do. Like I guess psychologically, I just know that these people, like when I go into this room, I'm not completely comfortable with. I don't know how to describe it, but I definitely do. Like I switch how I talk. How I guess I just converse with people in the room is completely different to how, like, if I'm with my friends or like in the Zoom at the moment, when I'm completely myself. Yeah, it's a bit different, but I guess the question, which is really interesting, is why we do that. Like, why do we feel like we need to do that?
For those who don't know, can you explain what code switching is as well? Sorry, I forgot to give it.
Right. Yeah. Well, for me, this is my definition of. Obviously, you can have your own definition, but code switching is, if I'm talking in a specific way, which is natural for me, amongst people who look like myself, and I'm completely my own personality. But then when I go into a room where I'm not surrounded by people who look like me, and I'm surrounded by people who are the complete opposite to who I am, then I feel like I have to change my character, change my personality, to an alternative person who they can relate to a bit more. So I start to speak in the way that they speak. I start to just change my character completely into something which is essentially false for a bit. But yeah, that's why I think code switching is really.
Would you not describe that as almost like an inbuilt safety mechanism that we've kind of developed over the years? You know, it's for want of a better comparison, it's almost like our bulletproof vest, you know, where we kind of get into a situation where we kind of protect ourselves by code switching. You know, I wouldn't necessarily say, you know, call someone out or saying it's wrong, but it's almost automatic. I think it's fair to say we'll have all done it to a greater or lesser extent at some point, and subconsciously it's almost like an almost automatic response to a situation. But again, it's like almost like a survival instinct, which I don't know, because I don't get any one of us have ever been sat down and says, right, son, you got a code switch. In this situation, you got to do this and that. That's never happened, as far as I'm aware. I don't know. But it's something that we do. It's almost like this automatic self-protection mode that we go in. And that's very interesting how that happens, because you can do that. You don't have to teach anybody or train somebody on it. It's something that, bang, you kind of find yourself doing almost before you've even realized you've done it sometimes. You know, you can come out of a room and suddenly, hey, why was I talking like that in there?
Yeah.
I mean, was that really me? You know, and it's a subconscious thing. But while we're here, kind of differently, but in the same vein, something that we were looking maybe to touch on earlier was pet peeves, right? We all have them. I mean, I've got several, but I'll pass them around the panel. Your pet peeve right now, or has been in the past, in terms of to do with assumptions on our color, especially as males or whatever. Go ahead.
I'm gonna go first. When people say, "Oh, it's black people timings" or black man timing, black people timing, all of that, I swear down, it's really just started to like just annoy me, because it's like what you are doing when you say that is you're agreeing that due to the basic, I don't know how to, I keep forgetting how to word it, but basically you're saying that because of the color of your skin, you are now predisposed to certain traits, and you're more likely to act a certain type of way. You're more likely to certainly, like, you're basically saying that traits and behaviors are genetic. The color, like basically based on the color of the skin, and then therefore you're basically agreeing with other silly stereotypes that literally don't exist, like saying because you're black you're more likely to commit crime. You know what I mean? You're not saying that, but it sort of gives leeway and reduces like the gap of you stretching, making a stretch for that assumption. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know if that bit made sense. But when you're saying that, you're now sort of, oh, so if because you know you're black that you're late and it's okay to be late, etc., etc., does that mean that you guys are also more likely to commit crime and stuff like that? Like, people don't realize that they're doing it, and people say it as a joke, but people make jokes out of loads of like things you shouldn't make jokes out of anyway. But yeah, that's my pet peeve.
For me, it's when someone will ask, it happened quite a lot when I started uni, do you sell weed, or do you know anyone that sells weed? That really got on my nerves. That like a lot. So yeah, even like in a nightclub, and then people are asking me, I'm like, it's just their preconception that every black person smokes weed, or sells weed. Is this that's one of my ones that I do find very, very bad. Yeah.
For me, it's when you're walking down a road and they cross the road, and then they walk and then they cross back to get back on the same road, the same pavement. My Lord.
I cross just to confuse them now. I cross first just to confuse them.
You cross first and then, oh no. yeah. I tell you, that one gets to me sometimes.
Because of COVID, it's not so bad right now, isn't it? Like they've got an excuse.
COVID, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
before the pandemic,
you
it
just
was
walk past somebody before that. I seen you walk past. I don't know.
No, for me, my pet peeve is when I go to, like, let's say, I guess it happens in most shops, to be honest. Like, let's say Sainsbury's or Tesco or something, and then I start to see like the security guard following me. Like, I'll go to, like, I don't know, one of the aisles, and then I'll look over and he's kind of just looking at me, and then he keeps walking, and I go to the next one, and then he's there, and then I go to the one before, and he's there, and I'm like, brother, like, like, I can see you following me. Like, let me breathe, man. But I hate that. Every single time I notice that, I'm like, I'm going to another shop. I swear, I just leave. I'm like, I'm done. I don't want anything in the shop. There's another one down the road. Like, I'm good. Like, that's
on
my
that,
opinion.
I
Yeah.
was with my younger son one time in the shop, and the guy was doing just that.
Yeah.
And being a kid, he just said, "Daddy, why is that man following us?"
Yeah, great, exactly. The good. Yeah.
Realized, he obviously thought he's some sort of secret agent that no one noticed that he was following only black people in the shop. And he just told me, "Dad, why is he following us?" And I was like, "Because he thinks we were gonna steal." And then the guy just went shade of red. It went so red, his head was gonna blow up. And he's standing there going embarrassed, and then he said, "Why would you do that? You got money. You're not a thief." I said, "Yep." Some people don't understand that not all black people are criminals. That's the guy. That's the quickest way to get rid of him. You know what I mean? He just sorry, but anyway, Sean.
My pet peeve is every summer, without a shadow of a doubt, someone will do this. Someone that's a lighter complexion will come over to me, show their wrist, and be like, "Oh, look, I'm getting a tan. I'm nearly as dark as you." And I swear it always has like 100% laugh rate by all the people that are lighter complexions. They somehow find that funny. I don't really understand how that is funny. Like, I don't say to a darker black person, "Oh, look, I'm getting as dark as you now." Like, and it like, I think they don't understand that. Like, it's actually offensive. It's not funny. Like, a joke should, like, I should be laughing if you're trying to make a joke. Like, we don't have that kind of relationship for you to be making these kind of racial banter with me. So I think that is definitely one of my pet peeves.
Tyrone.
I went. I'm quick. I went already.
Did you did yours? Who's not? Oh, it must be me then. Well, I've got several. Oh boy. Have you ever been to prison? I get asked that in school so many times, and I said I would not be doing this job if I'd been to jail. And I said, "Oh yeah." I said, "Right." Or sometimes I always say, "Go and ask all the white members of staff first. Come back to me after you've asked them." Well, why would we ask them? Aha. Why are you asking me? And then they don't actually realize they're asking a black man a question that is highly charged and highly racially offensive. Another pet peeve, and this is a minor, I suppose it depends on your point of view, is that I've got four kids, right? And my youngest is 8, oldest is 27. And when people say, "All right, all from different relationships," and I'm like, "Did I tell you they were from different relationships?" Now, me and my wife, we had 4 children. Yes, the ages are different, but they're all her, me, her. That's it. And and I think that's quite rude. Unless I tell you, yeah, I got a couple of kids from my first marriage or my second marriage. So I only been married once, one wife, and I got 4 kids. They're with her. Thank you very much. Sorry, the end. Sorry to spoil your little stereotypical point of view that I'm doing the running around thing here, but sorry. And that is, like I said, that is just a minor personal peeve of mine where people make that assumption. It might be the case, but I've got to tell you that's the case. They'll be telling me who I've got kids with and where and whatnot. That's just my peeve anyway. Sorry.
I think my pet peeve is the shop one, and the reason is I was at a Kendrick Lamar's concert Kendrick Lamar concert, and I went into the Tesco with my friend, walk around, get my drink, pay for it, and leave. Security guard stops me. I'm like, "What's going on?" Da, 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 da. As we're leaving, group of 3 white kids were laughing, and then they came back to me and they said, "Thank you for distracting him." And they had stolen and had walked out the shop, but he was busy searching me, thinking I had stolen. So then I was just like, wow. Yeah, so that became my pet peeve from then.
But I think all of us, at some point, maybe again, could be wrong, But I think probably the pet peeve is the king of all pet peeves. I think has got to be fit in the description. Because, you know, as I said, you know, we all look different, but I bet you if something happened and we'd all fit the description. As I said when we were chatting the other day, you know, a 4 foot, big boned, bald headed black guy will fit the same description as a 7'5" basketball playing guy with dreadlocks, right? And the example I gave was being stopped. And I told the policeman the only way I'll accept that is if the description was of a man driving a blue car with sleeping children in it. Then I'll believe them when they say I fit the description. Otherwise, just tell me you're stopping because I was a black guy. Just be honest. You know, I think sometimes maybe a bit of honesty, you know, if they're upfront, stopping you because you're black. I find that more easy to say than I fit the description. No, I don't. I'm telling you, I don't look like whoever it is you're looking for. I'm telling you right now, I don't fit the description. And that's the lamest thing, you know, this whole profiling nonsense. That is a major peeve. Because the other side of the coin is when they've got you in the cell for no reason at all, and this has happened to me before, the guy that's actually done it is out doing it again, doing whatever it is, you know, going about their business. So they've got the wrong guy, wasting your time, ruining your evening, when Mr. Professional Criminal is going about being a professional criminal. So yeah, I think, sorry, I'm hogging the peeves.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, the thing as well that I don't like about reporting is the first thing they report is the person's color of skin, when that is probably the least descriptive thing you can ever give. Do you know what I mean? And in fact, I live in a mostly white area, yeah. And obviously they have like a WhatsApp group chat that my mum's and my family's in. And they said they sent a message to the group chat saying that, oh, there was a black person walking down the street or acting funny on the street, be careful. I was out at the same time. My mum was worried. You know what I mean? Because that's what they said. They didn't say, oh, a person wearing this color or wearing this, but just color of the skin. Like reports like that are the reason why people get locked up and arrested and harassed by police partly for no reason. Like I've been in an incident where I've had to speak to police and that was the last thing I gave them, the color of their skin, because yes, it is important to understand, yeah, cool, to visually identify someone, you do need the color of skin, I'm not going to lie, but how long was their hair? Like, what was they wearing? How tall were they? What was their weight, sort of like, and everything like that? Like, these are the things that are actually going to let you find out who you're looking for, do you know what I mean? But that is like, literally, even in the news, for example, you know, something happens, oh, a black man, like, you know, the drums on ITV News and BBC News and all that, and all stuff like that. And then once again, sorry to digress and just go like off a panel, but like whenever a black person's involved in murder, stabbing, whether they're the victim or the perpetrator, they will always find the most rough looking photo of you, or the photo where you look really angry with a hoodie on, do you know what I mean? Making you look the most criminally possible. I'm pretty sure it was Mark Duggan or someone like that, where he was at a funeral, he had an angry look on his face and taken a picture and they cut out his face and used that to, and the thing is they do it on purpose, where they know that, you know, if we show a picture that makes him look angry, makes him look like a criminal, like it sort of justifies what happens to them. That is, it's just wrong, man. It's just,
it was actually his baby's funeral he was at.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Child.
I think that's the media and the way they like to like play black people.
Yeah.
You see it with like, I don't know if anyone ever saw this, the headlines with Sterling and with Foden, when Sterling bought his mama house and the way they phrased it, and when Foden bought his mama house and the way they phrased that, it just, yeah. Do you find the media's perception of black men has changed in the last few years? Or do you think it's still
I'd stay away from media as much as possible, just because I like find everything in it so triggering. But I would rather be uninformed than just triggered and misinformed all the time. Do you know what I mean? So I personally just stay away from media as much as possible, because I'm tired of the news and I really don't like the way they do a lot of the things that they do, especially in regards to race. And you notice the differences.
I think I think media slash just people in general, I think it's cool to be black. Like people wear it as fashion. Like I feel like people wear it as fashion that are not black until you're black. Until something's gone wrong in the black community, and then you need to take off your jacket and you're not trying to be black. I mean, I'm black, so I'm always gonna say it's actually it is cool being black. The culture is just amazing, and the vibe is amazing that black people give off anyway. But I feel like until something goes wrong, then people take off that jacket and put it in their closet until they're ready to go out and fit in with black people again. And I don't know how you guys feel about that, or if you guys want to interject, but it's I think it's a bit. I don't know. I feel like other communities support other communities so well. They don't really support the black community, and it stems from as well that black people don't support the black community enough, in my opinion. It's gotten better, granted it's gotten better, but it's still long ways to go, what would you guys say on that?
What I'd add to when you talk about people trying to be black and then picking and choosing, it happens quite a lot, especially in the the corporate commercial world, even with the BLM movement, especially for prime example football nowadays, where they take the knee. And Zaha recently said that he doesn't feel like he's going to stop doing it purely down to the fact that it's kind of turned into a thing that you just do just for the sake of saying, oh, I'm supporting, rather than actually incorporating change. So yeah, that's definitely a thing. I think a lot of corporate organizations are doing now, just trying to just say that they're doing things, but not actually making true change. So yeah.
With that, because see, the thing is, I got confused when footballers originally started taking the knee, because as you guys probably know, all sporting events in America, they play the national anthem before it starts, regardless of the sport, football, basketball, whatever. And Colin Kaepernick first did it. Originally he sat down, and then it was a Vietnam vet, I think it was, told him what we used to do was take a knee to honor the fallen. So he said, all right, and that's what I'm going to do. Instead of sitting down, or definitely not standing up, I'm just going to take a knee. That's where it all stood. So it actually made sense. When everybody else is standing up, you're taking a knee to sort of like saying, well, I'm not part of this, and I'm making my little silent protest. Silent protest, by the way, not throwing anything at anybody or nothing. Remember, the man's just going on a knee, whatever, and everybody's sort of like losing their minds. But then when we do it over here, it kind of looks like a token gesture, if you see what I mean, because what are you doing that instead of? What are you protesting? And I do agree. I remember it was Les Ferdinand at QPR as well, when they were coming for him. I said they obviously forget where Queen's Park Rangers is. It's in Shepherd's Bush, right? For starters, the sporting director's a black man. Look how many black players play on the team. So you can't throw that one at them, saying that they're not showing respect to Black Lives Matter by not taking the knee. But I think it is becoming a thing now where it can be looked at. I'll totally understand anybody that looks at it as a token gesture now, because it's kind of lost any impact it would have had. Maybe at the beginning of the season, when the season resumed, players, teams did it maybe at the beginning of the season, I think would have had more of an impact than doing it almost like as a, oh yeah, by the way, before a match starts. That's just my opinion, by the way. I'm just thinking that it is losing its impact, and it's just something else that happens before a game, rather than being something that is really effective. And I think, excuse me, as Tyron said, it's being black is something you don't come in and just take off your black jacket and hang it up and then pick it up on your way out, on the way out, going out in the next day. It's and there's more. I mean, like the idea of being black, there's more too. As I said earlier, Jamaican heritage, and Barbadian heritage, and all 50 odd countries in African heritage. You know what I mean? You can't. There is no black definitive black guy, black man. Being black is there's so much more to it than just saying, right, I'm going to do this, that makes me black. Just if that makes sense. Just my thoughts, really. Any other thoughts on taking a knee?
Yeah, just a quick one, really. I just wanted to say, so Michael, I completely agree that it's like performative activism, really, and they don't really want to put anything in place properly. But I think the major difference for me is obviously there are no fans in the stadium. So if they did that when the fans are in the stadium, you'd hear the boos. I can guarantee, I can put money on it. The amount of like boos, things being thrown, like get on with it, come on, all of that, you'll hear all of that if the fans are in it. So I can guarantee when things go back to normal, there won't be, any of this taking the knee, because when it comes down to it, like the Premier League, all the people above know exactly how racist, like in general, people are across, the fan bases and across, society in general. So they know what they're doing. Like, it's a good time to do it for them.
It happened with the Millwall game as well. So it's not, there's no president there. There is president of it happening. So yeah, definitely.
I was literally just about to say, like, I know pretty much nothing about football because I gave up on Arsenal in primary school, innit? But like, I know Millwall is known to be a racist club. Like, not, the fans as a club, they are known to be racist. Now, that, of course, there are racist people that support Man U and West Ham, but they're not known as racist clubs, you know what I mean? But the fact that a whole club can be known as a racist club and nobody really and truly cares and nothing's being done about it says a lot itself. And it is literally what you said, like tokenism. Like they're just doing all these things, like for example in the NBA where they were wearing all these t-shirts and they got custom jerseys for a bit of saying that, Black Lives Matter on your jersey. You're not really doing anything because you're not changing anything. All you're doing is just screaming something and asking someone to change anything without actually dealing with the issue and working on the issue. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like I don't know, but yeah, it is really just tokenism, and they need to actually do something about it. And it becomes a thing where, because they are doing all of this, they make it look like we care and this is what we've done. So then when you ask, oh, what have you done to show your support for the Black Lives Matter movement? Oh, we took the knee, oh, we wore these t-shirts, no, but like, what have you done, like the people that are in positions of power, to actually do stuff to change what's going on? And the answer is nothing. They haven't done anything, and they're not willing to do anything because they're complicit with it if they're not racist themselves.
Okay, I've just seen a very good question come up on regarding what we consider to be the Black community. But whilst we think about that panel, I was just curious. Another one has come up about opinions on the N-word. Cool or no?
Lord of mercy.
No.
Lord of mercy. See, now, me, I'm a big hypocrite. I can't lie to you. I'm a big hypocrite because I use the N-word more than I should. But at the same time, I only use the N-word when I'm around Black people. I do only use the N-word when I'm around Black people because I don't want to influence other races to say it. And I'm at the stage of my life where people don't really say that, of other races don't really say that to me because I just give them the look. So like I use it. It's used in a lot of rap, and I listen to a lot of rap music. Or things of that nature, and I use it, but I look at it in a different way. I'm trying to phase it out of my vocabulary, but I'm guilty of using it. What do you guys think about the use of the N-word, or the use of the N-word by a non-Black person?
It's in so much of the music that it's like a part of the culture. Although there is like a big catalog of music that doesn't use it. Like I'm with you, Tyrone. Like the rap I listen to does use it a lot, but I personally don't use it to people. If a black person says it, that's cool, like that, because everyone has their own opinions on it, and that's fine. It's when others start to say it that you have to question, do you know what you're like, do you know what it means?
I mean, I personally don't, and again, this is where the contradiction lies. You listen to a tune and you like it and you play it loud and whatever, and it's got that word in it, but then it might have other words in it that I won't necessarily use as well. I know there's no real justification as such, but I don't, and this is just a personal thing, I don't feel comfortable using that word. I read in a book once, sometimes that's the last person, you know, historically, that could be the last thing someone hears before they die. Do you know what I mean? Before they hung on that rope or shot or whatever. And whilst I get the arguments coming from the States, I can't use that argument over here in terms of reclaiming it. You know, I don't see that as a valid point for me. You know, I can't use that as a term of endearment to somebody, you know, that word that's been so aggressively and negatively used. However, I'm not going to judge somebody again for if they wish to speak to someone and they're in a group of friends where they're comfortable relating to each other as such. But for me, it's a no-no, and I always question when, and I've said this to a white person before. I said, listen, if you really are desperate to really say that word, say it. Good luck, by the way. You know, I wish you well, but I'd rather you didn't. But I always question why someone would want to use potentially one of the most aggressive and offensive words. You know, so why can't I, almost to the point, why can't I say, I want to say it? Well, say it. But you know, that's on your head. I'm not saying supporting any negativity that will happen to you as a result of saying it, but it might. In the same way that I wouldn't use certain words to use to talk about Asian people or Jewish people. I just wouldn't, because it's disrespectful. So I'm sure as hell not going to use it towards anyone that looks like me or my people. You know, that's just a personal viewpoint. I just can't.
Yeah, for me, I feel like what you guys sort of said, like I've really learned to phase it out slowly. And yes, there's plenty of times I've just said it carefree, and you know, you're with your boys or whatever, you'll say it, you don't care. But like the more and more, like once again, you learn about the history of the word, and you just learn about racism itself. It's like, I really don't want to be saying this word. And after a while of me not saying it, it feels uncomfortable for me to say it. Like if I was to say it with a friend, it feels forced now. And I'm like, the thing is, I would never say that. I know it's hypothetical, but if I was to meet my ancestor who was a slave, I would never not say that word to them. Do you know what I mean? Like you might swear and say all these other curse words and whatnot, but you would not say that word to them because you know the baggage of that word, and it's just not right. So lots of people say, oh, because it's in the rap music and it's been appropriated, like it doesn't matter, or we should force the rappers to stop saying it, etc. I think it kind of, yes, they have their own responsibility to stop saying it if they want to, but I think that the responsibility comes more with the people actually saying it in the first place. Like if it becomes a thing where people stop saying it, the rappers will stop saying it because they want people to listen to them more. They want people to keep on listening to them. They don't want to be phased out and cancelled or whatever because they keep on saying stuff that people don't say anymore. Do you know what I mean? And there was one more thing I was gonna say on top of that. Another thing, when people that aren't black want to say the word, it's like, why would you want to say that? Like, do you not know the baggage that comes with that word? Do you not know the history that comes with that word? And if you are in fact my friend or ally of black people, you shouldn't want to say that word. Do you know what I mean? I don't think anybody should say that word, but especially if you aren't black, you should not be saying that word. Do you know what I mean? That's the way I see it.
I think if I to add to that, I think what's important to mention is that black people are not saying the N-word to their parents. Like, you're not saying it to your grandparents. I think if you were to even dare to say it to some of your older members of family, the abuse that you'd get back. So I think from when we can't say it to certain members of our family, I think there's no right for other people to use the word against us. And like when I was living in Spain, so many of the European Caucasians were always like, "Oh, Sean, can I call you like NIG just because like, yeah, you're like my first black friend." I'm just like, no, like me, I personally don't let any of those things slide straight away. Any kind of hint of someone trying to use the word, I say no straight away, because you realize when you give someone an int, sometimes they're trying to take much more and go really further with things. And if you give them the opportunity to use that word against you, what else could they say? Like, what else would they, how would they perceive you? Because you're letting them use a word that is a derogatory word. Even if it's used as a word of endearment in America, it still speaks of the violence of our ancestors and our bloody history. So I think it's important to even if it's in music, that apparently in the UK, I think it shouldn't be used at all. I don't use it with my friends anymore. None of my friends will use it. I think it's important that you have that conversation with people so they know not to even dare to use it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with all of you, especially what you just said, Sean, about, you know, if you let someone use that, then it's like a gateway for them to, you know, to start to say other things as well. So I guess stopping that, you know, initially is very important for every kind of conversation that I have with someone who's not black. So yeah, no, I completely agree. And I've started to, we don't even use it anymore in our friendship group. My close friends, you know, we've all stopped using it because as we've grown older, we understood that if we want, you know, non-blacks to stop using it, then we have to stop using it as well, you know, because then we don't have to have that conversation, because, you know, we haven't you know, taken the derogatory term and used it in a different way now. You know, it's still, you know, it still has that meaning, you know, behind it. So, and we just put it to the side, and it's something that we all know never to use. So I think that's important, really, that we don't use it ourselves.
I guess that kind of slides me on to a question that was asked about the Black community, as in, do we really think there is one?
No, I believe personally, sorry to interject there, I believe personally there is a strong Black community. Black people will be the first people to support Black people, no matter what. And I think it's getting better. I just don't think it's enough, personally. Like I used the example the other day, like Black people will pay like tons of money on Balenciagas or YSL or some sort of designer brand, but when a black business owner has the same type of product and prices at the same type of market, people are like, why are you pricing it so high? But then, you know, it's a standard that like we need to hold each other to, I believe. Like I feel if you're gonna support the Black community, whether you're Black or whether you're not Black, then you've got to be all in, because at the end of the day, the way I see it is everyone's at the same level. Everyone's human, no matter what shape, size, color, race, disability that you have. Everyone's human, and everyone deserves to have the right to be treated equal and have that support as well, especially with what's going on in the world today. People are dealing with mental health and things like that, and everyone needs that support as well. So you shouldn't, I feel like as a Black person, the Black community needs to go to continue make those leaps of supporting each other, no matter what it is.
I remember we spoke briefly the other day about I don't think it's a thing as much now, but like certainly when I was growing up, the distinction, the battle lines, for want of a better phrase, between Africans and Caribbeans, and especially Jamaicans and people of Africans, because like as I said, it was a thing, you know, and at school in the playgrounds, you know, I said some things I look back and shudder African boys that were in the playground. And to be fair to them, they gave us plenty too. But then looking, and then as I said, as I grew up, I realized that actually doesn't make sense, because if you know anything about the history of like the Caribbean, which I didn't really until I left school, such was the great emphasis put on teaching Black history at school, none. You look at how many people actually look like us. They could have only come, the indigenous people from that place didn't look anything like us. So therefore, for us to be there, we had to come from somewhere else, which, adult and developing mind tells you had to be Africa. So then why can't I like people from Africa then, if I'm really from them? And the same, I could kind of get people from Africa not liking Caribbeans, and they're worse in the sense that we're being looked down on. I get that. I don't agree with it, obviously, but I could kind of understood where it come from. And I think seeing the history of like my mum's side of the family, the house literally come through the generations, through slavery, through everything, to the point it still has a slave quarters on the land. And that is a heartbreaking thing to behold. When you see the conditions, you watch all these movies and they're living in these nice little shacks and they've got their stoves and whatever. No, they didn't, right? They were living, 2-3 of them in places that smaller than a wardrobe, and then be expected to sleep for a couple of hours and then get back up the next day. And even though I'm talking about like Africans versus Jamaicans, then as I got older, I got to understand Nigerians and Ghanaians aren't friends, right? And then if you go to the Caribbeans, coming from Jamaica, I shouldn't like anybody from Barbados, really, and so it goes. So the point I'm trying to make is, do you think we've got to a stage, right? We've kicked all that nonsense into touch, and there is a Black community, right? Black man, Jamaican heritage can have no issues and support a Black man of wherever part of Africa he's from, or somewhere else in the Caribbean. Do you think we've reached that stage, or is it something still a little bit at the back of the minds?
I think that like, just touch on what you and Tyrone have said, like the reason there's not, even though, yes, so we agree that there is sort of support there, but it's not perfect and it's not amazing, and we very much have these intricate, that's the right word, intricate beef, or whatever you want to say, between each other. The reason I believe that it's like that is because, yes, we've dealt with like the physical elements of slavery, but we have not, or only now we are sort of starting to deal with the mental aspects of slavery. Like one of the first things, I don't know who, I knew loads of people used to say this anyway, but they said that, yeah, like we really need to start talking about mental slavery. Like this is years ago. And mental slavery comes up in things like colorism and literally loads of stuff like that. And that is where all of these arguments and beef between each other sort of spurs from, I believe. So like you said, sort of in the back of the mind, because of the way that colonizers have manipulated us, to say, and the things that they have done back in our homelands and wherever, has caused us to sort of be angry at each other rather than be angry at the colonizer, and follow the just follow on from them in a sort of way. Not obviously, we're not colonizing each other, but the way that they have like just messed things up, we haven't necessarily gone back and fixed the issues that they've messed up and created. Because they've created these issues and these issues are still here, we're going to keep on having more things spur out of those things, until we deal with the core root of the issues, if that makes sense.
I mean, for my part, I think in the last couple of years, especially, I mean, if we're talking music, I guess, people like Stormzy, Burna Boy, etc. I think the pendulum swinging the other way, where it was cool to be Jamaican, everybody wanted to be Jamaican, but now it's cool to be African now. I think people can stand up and be proud in their Africanness. Do you know what I mean? Which I think is a great thing. Anyway, I mean, wherever you're from, you should be proud, in my opinion. But I think maybe there are a few guys that would sort of like hide their Africa. There's guys, I think I said the other day, when they're at school, we didn't know that they were African until their parents showed up. It's like, what? Is that? We all thought they were Jamaican. Do you know what I mean? And then because the way they act, there's nothing that we could, could look at them and say, no, he's faking it, he's pretending. These guys have been around us so much that they were pitch perfect. But then you see, growing up now, you think, well, why did X feel like that at the time? It's probably from I don't know, from outside, the way that we spoke about Africans, he didn't want to come out or whatever. But now I think it's cool now to be African. You can say you're African and with your chest out and whatever, and don't feel any way. And I think in the sense that I think the community is getting better, but you know, personally, I think there's still a long way to go. I think you can live in an area where there's black people, but not necessarily be in an area where those black people are a community, if that makes sense. Because where I grew up in Hertfordshire, and we obviously the majority was white, but there was a black community, there was an Asian community. We mixed, went to school, worked in and amongst people of different colors, but I'd say, yeah, pretty much every black person I knew or my parents knew, or there was some sort of connection through work, through school or whatever in that community. There wasn't a grown black person that you didn't know, Mr. So-and-so or whoever it was. You know, you had that sense of community, or if anything happened, you'd know that you could rely on that person for help or whatever. And I think that's where, when we're at that stage in any particular area or neighborhood, then we can say we have a community. You know, you can go and knock on someone's door in times of stress and trouble, and they know that they'll have your back, for want of a better way. And I think we're moving there slowly. I think, and I think the combination of COVID, combination of things being heightened last summer, have kind of raised the issue to a point where I think we're starting to see, you know, we got to look after each other, because boy, out there, they don't care about us really.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think that's the way it's going. That's not to the exclusion or being anti anything else.
Just
That's
being
a great mistake that people often make. Being pro-black doesn't mean you're anti-white.
Mm.
It means that, you know, a lot of nonsense you're not going to put up with anymore. You want your to survive, strive, and do well. But that doesn't mean I hate you. But
Michael, all lives matter, Michael.
Let's not do this. Let's not do this. Can
I
I
know what that means.
can I quickly just make 2 points? One thing that literally just pops into my mind is that we forget how big the black community actually is, like, and the sheer numbers. And then because of how big it is, we forget how diverse our cultures are. So there's going to be all of these differences between us anyway. So a community to us as a black community is going to look so different to a community of another race that's from a smaller sort of spread of people, if that makes sense. And then once again, just to add on to the other point you made about, you know, once just because I'm pro-black doesn't mean I'm anti everything else. The reason why it's seen as that is because loads of cultures and that have benefited from the oppression of black people. So it's like I don't know how to explain it. Like, imagine I don't know, black people are like a chair or like underneath the table, and they're all eating at the table. We want to get up and eat at the table as well. Their table is going to crumble a bit, and that's why loads of people are sort of panicking, and you know, they see it as anti everything else, when really we just want to sit at the table too. That's literally all it is.
Yeah, and I think that's the big problem really, is that we don't like, they want black people to succeed, but they don't want them to be like, you know, all the way next to them at the table as well. Like you lot can have like a separate table just here on the side, but in terms of like the main table, like, yeah, we're keeping it how it is. And I think that's the main problem. But I just wanted to say, Michael, you know what you were describing about like the situation in terms of being like, you know, I guess we say African, you know, in school and all of that. You were literally describing like me, because I grew up like with Jamaicans, and like all my friends in school were all Jamaicans. I was the only African, not even nevertheless like Zimbabwean, but only African. So like they had an influence on how I spoke, how I grew up, and you know, I was like, they essentially just I guess taught me their way really, and that's all I knew throughout school, you know, until I went to uni. So what you're saying about like that it wasn't cool to be African, I felt that like I couldn't really like express myself. I couldn't really, you know, I have a very Zimbabwean name, but you know, they started to change that as well, so that, you know, it's easier for them, and like all of these little things that I just like slide a bit. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I think as you said, you know, now that I guess you can say that it's a lot cooler to be African now to an extent. But I think the beauty we're seeing now is that, you know, you're seeing all the African communities across all of Africa and Jamaica, you know, Caribbean, sorry, you can see that when we come together, you know, we are so powerful. And I think that's what's incredible, because now we've all realized that, yeah, you know, let's just put all this aside. I don't know if it comes with age or what, but there's definitely been something in recent years where maybe it's the culture in terms of like what you're saying about Stormzy, Burna Boy, Wizkid, or just merging into like something, you know, which is powerful. And there isn't this split now, which is like, this is, you know, the Caribbean culture, this is like, you know, the African culture, whatever that is. And now it's just like we all move together forwards, you know, and that's incredible.
I think it does come back to when you say about all these music artists from different backgrounds coming together, you'll see them making songs together, and it's actually seeing that someone, let's say in a higher position in society, getting along, and it influences you whether you know it or not. And I think the fact that more people are seeing that may be one of the reasons to why we see that it happened more in recent times.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like like you were saying, that the artists that are doing this, I feel like what I'm trying to say is I feel like the message has been consistent. So throughout the years, the message, or maybe the black struggle, I put quotation marks, but the black struggle in terms of everyone's struggle is different, but the message essentially has been the same. I feel like also there's a lot of systematic racism within the UK. Definitely, like Mr. Grandad was saying, trying to get onto that table. Just with a lot of black people have to overcompensate just to get onto that table, just to be knocked down from that table again because of the systematic racism. Does anyone want to touch on what systematic racism means and how they have experienced that personally?
I can explain systematic racism and speak a little bit on systematic racism. So like not like racism as everyone will kind of immediately think is kind of like already having these prejudices towards a certain race. However, like racism doesn't need to be as overt as someone kind of just randomly screaming the N-word or saying you black this or you black this and having saying racial slurs. What we're seeing now is that racism has taken another form. So when you go and look in the workplace and you don't see any black people in high positions, there could be an underlying kind of institutional racism that's happening, that the institution doesn't want black people to be higher up in the organization. I think if we link that back to the Black Lives Matter movement, we're seeing a lot of support, but how far did that support really go? Because if we're seeing jobs being provided to black people, what jobs are they? Are they in senior roles? Are we seeing black CEOs, or are we seeing black people getting invited to work for a short period of time? And I think they're the kind of things that we're seeing. We're not seeing black CEOs of let's say aeronautical companies, or black CEOs of massive banks, or black. We don't even see many black architects, to be fair. I don't think I can name one famous black Caribbean architect. Maybe a black African architect, but not a black Caribbean architect. And I think institutional racism really is that the institute holding back black people and stopping them from being able to pursue and achieve their goals. There certainly is a glass ceiling that's put over our heads.
Just to add on to what you said, Chloe, you touched on more institutional. Systematic racism is sort of like that, but in all areas. So let me just think. So you would get, one of the areas you'll get is healthcare. So for example, I'm pretty sure everyone knows this by now, or if you don't, how black women are disproportionately affected by what's the correct term? Infant mortality or something like that. But basically, they're more likely to die from giving birth. Education racism will look like where boy, let's think. So obviously, once again, where things are taught and stuff like that. So the curriculum, that's one of it. And even, for example, when you get into, for example, trouble at school, if it's like a very mixed race, like school, not mixed race, but like different races like that. For example, if someone was racist to you and you so if you fight back or whatever at the person being racist, you're the one that's going to get in trouble because it's institutional racism within the school. So, you know, the teacher might tell you off. And if you go to the head teacher, they're also supporting what the teacher said because they're both a part of that racist system. They're both going to support the kid, even though the other kid that was racist was in the wrong. You also get racism so going back to like other businesses, like other forms of business as well. If you want to talk about, can I read an article about this where in terms of businesses and loan companies and stuff like that, they would not give appropriate loans to Black businesses. And when they did give loans to Black businesses, they would charge far higher business rates. Another one, redlining. This is like to do with houses and that, where houses, like if you lived in certain areas, the loans on your mortgage and stuff like that is going to be far higher. They're going to charge you more, or they're just not going to give you one at all to get there. And I don't know if you guys have seen this in social media lately. Someone got their house valued, and then they got the house revalued, but got a white person to act as the owner of the house, and it went up by 345,000 pounds or dollars. Like that's over $250,000 just because a white person was the person pretending to be the owner of the house. So as you can see, like it comes into all sort of areas of life that there's probably some that I haven't even touched on. Like, yeah, there's literally any area of life, like there you'll probably find sort of racism.
So do you guys think that will ever end this? Because it seems so ingrained into society. Do you think there is a way for it to stop, or is this how things are?
Modern day society was built off racism, like from what I know at least of history, not my best subject, but like same time where, you know, all of, I don't know, like all the train lines and just everything that we see today started to get built. Oh snap. And everything we saw to see today started to get built was literally off the backs of slavery. Like Western society literally was made powerful, like America was made powerful because of slavery. Do you know what I mean? The Great British Empire and stuff like that, like they got rich off slavery and all the stolen gold. Like they're sitting on Africa's gold, do you know what I mean, still, and stuff like that. So until, like, you can't ask the people that benefit from the system to take down the system, which is why this Black Lives Matter movement has been ineffective in a way, because it's been transformed into something which it wasn't. The whole movement was just about police brutality, and now people are changing it into a equality movement, right? So that's why it's sort of ineffective. So I personally believe, just to answer your question before I talk for too long, we won't see any changes in this system until we start to build our own system. And once again, even if what you will see is when eventually we start to build our own system, they will start actually trying to change this system. But even if we now go back to this system, all you're going to find is that it's just been rebranded and pushed further deeper, and the same people are going to be benefiting from it, and the same people are going to be disadvantaged by it. So yeah,
I think the three main things that can be done is definitely power, economics, and education. Them three things are so key to trying to break the cycle as best as we can. For example, education, not getting taught about Black history in the slightest, has a major impact. Learn about World War One, World War Two, and Victorian times. Yeah, that's okay, but not understanding that there's other histories, other cultures have histories, does come at a detriment, especially if, let's say, in a predominantly white area and they've never seen a black person, and their first idea of a black person is, oh, he was a slave, or some of them might not even know like the basics on slavery. So even that needs to get taught. And in terms of power and economics, it kind of goes back to making our own system and uplifting ourselves, because we've seen in a smaller ecosystem where we've done our own thing and people want to try and use it and trying to jump on and say, okay, now we're going to try and do that. But if we can do it off our own backs without the aid of other people, I think that's the first start of how it can be broken, definitely.
Well, Daniel, I agree with you 100% with the education, but you see, when you talk about teachers about the World Wars, there, again, this is only in the last, 10, 15, 20 years, really, that I've understood the involvement of African and Caribbean people in those wars.
Yeah.
We contributed heavily to those wars. I'll even go even further back, right? When we're learning about divorced, beheaded, died with Henry VIII, why weren't we told the highest paid musician in his court was a black man? Refused to play at one of his weddings until he got bumped up. He stood up to the man that killed his wife for fun and told him, I ain't playing at this wedding. I'm not doing this gig until you give me some more money. Henry VIII paid him. These things, right? It's not impossible, right? Whilst we're being taught, for want of a better way, the dead dry history, to incorporate the facts where we were in part of this history, because you never saw the war films, or you never saw the pictures, or in the history books going to school, the black contributions. You had whole Sikh regiments, Indian regiments. We had all these guys. I believe during the Victory Parade, I think both Victory Parade here and in Paris after the Second World War, the black soldiers had to go right at the back, so you won't see them in any of the pictures. All right, we're being taught history, but I always say, all right, and throw it all in, throw everything into the pot, right? Our contribution. I think from the ground up, being taught, when we're being taught, right, this is what we have done. We didn't just come here from Windrush times. We've been here from before. People have come over here and fought for Queen of Country. Remember, like I said, my parents came over here on a British passport from Jamaica. Do you know what I mean? And why? Because it was a British colony, as was many countries in Asia, as were many countries in Africa. So you've got to understand, okay, why were they British colonies? And then go into the history, talk about the grab for Africa, the 8 European countries, the top to bottom, stripped Africa clean. When we talk about what's happened to the continent, why are there rich white South Africans living off the diamonds that are in South Africa, for example? It's like, hey, wait a minute. You had to come here and take the diamond. What happened to the people? The 10 million massacre, Holocaust, the Black Holocaust in the Congo. At least 10 million people died in that. Being taught the full picture. I think when you are taught you only started existing after slavery, or that's the only reason why there are black people around, like the highest black population of black people in the world outside of the African continent is in Brazil. Many people don't know that, and it's not their fault they don't know that. It's just you don't know that because you've not been taught that. And I think if we're taught our worth from early on, from schools, then we have a better picture. Then it's easier for you to look across to your other black classmate and think we got more in common than we actually realize. It's not just that parents may come from a different island in the Caribbean or from a different country in Africa, but there's more to our story than we've been led to believe. And I think that is the key for us moving forward and working as a community. Because as recently as 2015, you had the Runnymede report, which literally goes through the systematic racism that exists and says how it affects non-white people in education, in employment, and in the healthcare system. And that's 2015. That's not long ago. I could go on about the institutionalized racism after Stephen Lawrence is dead, but that would take too long, and I've been talking for too long.
On the flip side of that, on the flip side of that, what you got to remember as well is no one is born a racist. like we got a lot of architects here. You guys were born knowing architecture. No one's born a racist or knows how to do architect or anything like that. You're taught. You learn these things, and I think that's important to remember. So filtering it out to answer, I think it was Ken last question. Filtering it out, it does happen. It can happen, but I feel like it will take a long time. I'm interested, guys. We're all black men here, and what is your opinion on dating outside of your race? Like, have you ever heard of this word fetishness, or is it fetishness, or something along that lines? I think there was a question saying, bear with me, guys. Have you experienced any fetishness? How have you navigated while dating or anything like that? So I'm interested on you guys' opinion on that.
Well, definitely felt fetishized. I'm currently dating a white girl, but I have dated black females as well, black women. But I do think that touching on that as well, black people do need to do more, especially black men, to support black women. But in terms of fetishized, it happened even like in terms of in a nightclub and someone will come up and touch your hair. Do you know what I mean? Like that, regardless if you're dating them or not, just that kind of idea of fetishizing with your hair and stuff like that. So it's not even just in a dating round, it's all over really. So yeah.
No, I definitely feel you on that. I definitely feel you. I feel like we as black men definitely need to support black women more. And it's a two-way street as well. Black women need to support black men as well. I feel like even if you date a different race, I have no problem with that at all, because like I said before, everyone's human. You can't decide who you fall in love with or who you're interested in. That kind of just happens. But what I will say is that the support for black women is not there, and I'm kind of interested in why is that not there, and maybe you're getting that support from other races as well, or that emotional support. So I'm curious, guys. What do you guys think about what I just said there?
So for me, I would say like one, I've never really dated outside of marriage for sure, but I've been with a few people outside of marriage, and I mean, one of the main reasons why I couldn't like be with them long term is because I understand that of like historically, for example, what your ancestors have done to my ancestors, and some people may say that's unfair because it's not them who's done it, but it's like I feel like it doesn't sit right with me knowing that someone down your line in your family line was either complicit or was literally guilty of the enslavement and just literally just all of that of my people, do you know what I mean? Of like just killing my people and racism, and people in your family line might still be racist and stuff like that. And that isn't something, it doesn't sit with me, do you know what I mean? Personally, like, I wouldn't be comfortable knowing that. Like, cool, I get that, yeah, that's not you, that's not your actions, but it just doesn't, my soul just doesn't, it doesn't sit in my soul, do you know what I mean? And then on top of that, yeah, definitely fetishization happens. Like the way in which other races will sort of sexually sort of talk to you, and just like the words they use are very important to like listen out for. Like, and just the way that they sort of interact with you and stuff. Like, so a lot of the time they expect you to be like really.
Have you used it to your advantage, or has it been a hindrance?
No, I don't play to the stereotypes. Like I said, I haven't dabbled outside of my race at all like that, and only like 2-3 times maybe. But that was even mostly when I was younger. But now that I've like understood, I've dabbled once, and it's still like, it doesn't sit in my soul. And then once again, the way that they like, it was, now that might have just been how they was, because like I said, it was just one person, but I did feel like it was very like, you know, I'm supposed to be this very aggressive person and very like, yeah, I'm not trying to go into too much details, but yeah. Now in terms of, so another reason, sorry, that I'm going on is like, I understand that because of how the world views Black people, like I myself as a Black man need to make sure I am looking after my Black woman as well. So another way to do that and to support them is by dating them and just building with them and loving them and, you know, being romantic with them and stuff like that, because it's like nation building, do you know what I mean? And one of the ways in which like, you know, they plan to kill us just because that's just what racists do, was literally by like fading us out, you know what I mean? By perpetuating these ideas that, you know, white women are better, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, if I don't love my Black woman, then who will? Do you know what I mean? Like they're deserving of love, etc., etc. So why should I not love them? You know, they're mine, but like possessive wise, but you know, they're my people. Do you know what I mean? So how can I not find my own people attractive like that and stuff like that? So yeah.
No, that's interesting, because I think when it comes to I guess being fetishized and all of that, it's definitely like a red flag for me when it comes to like girls and all of that. It completely like puts me off, like flat out, like it's completely unacceptable really. But I guess the question I have for you lot is like, do you think it's different when like a Black guy dates a Black girl, let's say, or when it's flipped, when it's like a Black girl dating a white guy? Do you think it's different, or is it the same? Does it like get the same response really?
I think, again, see, with the fetishizing thing, I've seen that. I mean, again, with if it's genuine dating outside, I think you can tell the difference between someone who's genuinely interested in someone,
Yeah,
someone who's like, well, let me try this, or let me try that. You know, it's, and I always look back to a time when I was, one of my colleagues at work, married woman and etc. And I remember we were just chatting, and she just said, I want to try a Black man before I get too old. And I was like, you know, when your jaw drops on the floor, it's like, try what? Like shoes? What? Like a bag? What? You mean try? Whoa! You know, I've always been. I was thinking, nah, that's not what we're here for. You know, it's not an experiment. All right, if you're going to have that mindset when you're 15, 16, 17, 18, have that mindset, but no, you know, you're a big grown ass woman and you're talking about you want to try a Black man before you get to it. What does that even mean? You know, I get it, you know, I mean, you watch any rapid videos from back in the day up until now, this supposed hypersexuality, but at the same time, I think it works the other way around, where you get a lot of white men fascinated by the Black woman. You know, I said, you know, almost like it's almost, I don't want to use the word almost like an animalistic type of thing, but it's almost like something that can be tamed. It's like if you go back to using the slavery analogy, you know, the slave master would have his wife on a pedestal while he went down to the slave quarters to do what he did. Do you know what I mean? And you know, she was too pure to be doing that sort of thing, whereas as the Black slave women were there to go and breed and do whatever. But I think when there's genuine cases, you like someone, you like someone, you don't like someone, you don't like someone, and but fetishization is real, and I suppose there's a lot of Asian women can tell you the same thing as well. But I think we do. I think there's this myth, this stereotype. We come back to this myth about the Black man, you know, as a criminal, as a sexual athlete. You know, all these things that still kind of, and it's all like a step into the dark, isn't it? Whenever a girls are being rebellious, white girls are being rebellious as teenagers, they always seem to find a Black boyfriend. If they really, if you really want to pee off your parents, go and find a Black boyfriend. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. And so it's like I don't know. It's another token to say, right, yeah, I'm living on the edge now. Look at my Black man. You know, it's I don't know. I've never never really played that game. You know, nah. If you want to be with me, just so you can sort of like tick that box now. Nah.
One thing I think I forgot to say, I know I said loads of things, is the importance of like nation building. Did I say that already? Oh, I did, yeah. And like building Black families and stuff like that. Okay, yeah. So yeah, literally just it's very important to build Black families, and we can't build Black families and have Black wealth even if we're dating outside our race, etc. and stuff like that, because then it's going to be going to that community and just all of that stuff. So
Yeah, I definitely hear you. I think it's an interesting one, really. I think it's I think it comes with that support. It definitely comes with that support. We're rounding off now. We're coming to the end of our discussion, and I'm gonna let Michael say a few words. I think we should go around. Maybe each of us should say a few last bit of words, and then Michael should end off. So what I would like to say, and what I've kind of learned from this discussion, is everyone is different. Everyone is different. Everyone has their preferences. But ultimately, everyone deserves to be treated equal, no matter on their race, their gender, their beliefs. We're still people. We're still people. And speaking as a Black person, from my Black perspective, equality is everything. Equality is everything. From the moment I walk into a room, the moment I speak to someone, I just want them to see me as an equal, and my peers as equal, no matter what race they are. That's what I would say.
Totally agree, 100%. In closing, then, I think there's something that we spoke about earlier before I do this closing poem, which I hope is okay. Very short, so don't worry. Is a positive note. Moving on to you, Sean. Something positive that you can leave us with.
A positive note.
Yeah.
I think having these conversations is positive, and understanding these are the experiences that Black males have, because I think a lot of people kind of already have their perceptions of what it is like to be a Black male, but the reality is we do go through a lot of trials and tribulations and troubles. So for you guys to kind of be here, listen to us, we're kind of, if you're not Black yourself, we're forming this conversation and we're having this allyship. So I think we can move forward and progress and challenge some of these things, that this institutional racism, this racism, we could stand up against it to build a more stronger, fruitful, and better society. Because I think by having everyone understanding their problems, being compassionate, we can begin to have an incredible society and really live amazing, fruitful lives where we're not kind of being very prejudiced or looking at people and hating them for the color of their skin. So I think in a way, thank you everyone that's joined us, and I think having these conversations and having this platform is fantastic.
Also, slight interjection. All of the panelists, put your social medias down before we leave, and before Michael says his poem. Put your social medias down, send it through, so people can connect with you afterwards.
Can we get some positive words from Daniel, Grandad, Kuda, and Tendai as well before we hear Michael's poem and finish off? I think it would be nice for everyone to. That was a really powerful thing to say, Sean. Thank you. So can we get some positive words from everyone else?
I just want to add, just try and find your lane, and just, I think it's important to do as much as we can to educate ourselves as Black people, definitely, because there's still a lot that we don't know, and I don't feel pressured to want to or need to educate your white counterpart to understand where we come from and our history. And that for them to do it off their own back shows that they are willing to understand us, and And if everyone does that, we'll definitely have a better society, definitely.
No, I like that. And I think I just wanted to say that it's important to understand that Black joy is just as important as Black pain. You know, you have to remember that there's so much we have to celebrate ourselves and the influence that we have from all these different cultures. I mean, like, look in this panel at the moment, you know, we have people from different backgrounds, cultures, experiences, and we're all coming together and we're all sharing our experiences, you know, and that's beautiful in itself. So for me, one thing I absolutely love is, you know, Notting Hill Carnival. Hopefully we can have that this year, like, fingers crossed. Like, I'm praying that every night, like when you go there, you know, it's not just something for Black people, it's for white people as well. You see all cultures celebrating culture in general, Black culture, and I think that's beautiful, you know. So that just shows that, yes, we can celebrate it, but please also support us and be our allies when we're, you know, trying to make change in things that are always against us, you know. So I think that's important as well. But yeah, it's been a great panel on my side, and I've really enjoyed it. So thank you.
I was just thinking how nice it is that 7 different Black guys can get together and just talk about their different experiences on a Saturday night. Thank you to everyone that attended as well. That we really do appreciate, because as Sean said, it's starting the conversations that really leads to the change. And yeah, it's just been very nice to hear similar stories, but a different take on it. And I think, especially in light of last year, it was quite tough being Black. But I think Black people have come together and said, yeah, we've had enough of it being tough being Black. So what can we do? Like, what can we actually do now moving forward? Because we're just tired of this. And we, like you said, Black joy, like, we want more Black joy in our lives. So how are we going to get it? Because it's not going to be given to us.
Yeah, I've literally enjoyed today. I mean, everyone's been in London at least, you know what I mean? But yeah, everybody has had so many different experiences and different perspective on different experiences. So it's the widening of my own understanding of what people go through. Because yeah, I know, you know, everyone goes through different stuff and everyone's different, etc. But just hearing other people tell me, you know, what they're going through, what their perspective are, and I think I'm the youngest here as well. So once again, hearing what it was like for you guys to grow up here, and just your different perspectives is really good. And yeah, literally, this whole sort of changing perspective thing is a constant thing. It's like learning, do you know what I mean? You constantly have to unlearn, relearn, and like apply. Sometimes you fail, and it's just like constantly evolving. Do you know what I mean? Constantly growing, constantly just unlearn, literally just of all of those things. So yeah, that's why I like this.
We'll now have a word from Michael. He's got a poem he's going to read us, and then I've just got a few words to close off, and then we can wrap up. So Michael, do you want to hit us with your poem before I wrap this thing up?
Okay, before I do, again, thanks to everybody for being involved.
You're on mute. Michael, you're on mute.
One second. It's been, yeah, thanks for the invite and thanks for being involved in such a really good panel of guys. It's been great speaking to you guys and listening to you guys. And I think it is something that we need to do, not just amongst those here, but generally speaking, you know, talk, communicate, and look at ideas at how we can move forward. Like with our own equality, we've got to strive for equality in the right ways, in all places, and help each other. You know, keep each other a leg up in whichever way we can. And you know, I think the phrase is, you can't pour water from an empty cup. So unless we are strong together as a community, we can't go out into the world strong as Black people. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, I'm going to read you a very quick poem. It's not one of my long ones, it's a quite short one. It's to the point. It was just written last year, quite a recent one. It's just simply called Us. You love our art, our craft, our food, our ability to entertain and make you laugh, but you cannot love us. You love our now fashionable lips, our women's bums, our women's hips, our hairstyles and the drinks we sip, yet you cannot love us. You love to call us cool without the sense of a mule. We are playthings, toys, entertaining fools. Really? Is that what you think of us? Are women exotic? Are men fetishized as erotic? Talk about myopic. Or is trophy status still the only good thing for us? Villains and ogres to run from, intent on doing harm. Do you still not trust us? Saying we speak well is meant to be complimentary when we're all educated way past primary. Knowledge and articulation doesn't mean we exist above our station. Is that not a right for us? It's been a long time since we were legally chattel, but it has not stopped the never-ending battle for freedom, equality, and humanity. Is that not now overdue for us? Thank you.
I honestly could not have ended it better myself. Thank you so much. That was really moving. And just to end this, I just want to say, when I started Wedzera and kind of this network that we've put together, it was born from a place of anger. I was angry at what was going on to Black people and I wanted to do something. And for me to see that we have created a space where we can have 7 Black men talk honestly about their experiences and we can have the engagement that we've had is honestly so amazing. And I just want to say to all the panelists, thank you so much for your honesty, for your candor. You really hit so many emotional things within us while we were listening to you, and you were humorous while you did it, and that you were respectful. And so for me, it's always such a great thing that I can always reach out to people who I'm friends with, because people who are watching, I always am friends with the people on the panel. So it's always nice to me that I can depend on the people that I'm friends with to share their experiences so openly. And it really was, I think, one of my favorite panels that we've done. If people who are watching, if you want a part 2, because that's what I was thinking as they were talking, because there are so many things that they wanted to talk about that we didn't even get close to touching. So if a part 2 is in the works and the panelists are happy to do a part 2, I am very, very happy for us to organize that, because I think the more that we continue to talk about these things, I forgot who it was who said it recently. It was Michaela Cole who said that you cannot ignore something if it's not hidden. I think that's the way. I may have said that wrong, but you get what I'm saying. If we continue to put this in front of people, they can't ignore it. They can't ignore our experiences. They can't ignore our suffering. They can't ignore our pain. And they can't ignore the fact that we want change. So for me, these conversations are one of the most important things that we do in order to incite change. So I just want to say once again, thank you to everyone who continues to support what we're doing, who continues to engage with the things that we're trying to do and the change that we're trying to make. And thank you very much, panelists, for this. Can everyone please give our organizer Tendai, who runs around like a crazy person trying to sort these panels out, sending messages every single day that I wouldn't have the energy to send. Thank you so much for continuing to organize these panels, and thank you everyone for joining in.